Historically, the pantry began about 3 years ago. We currently rent space from the United Methodist Church here in what's called South Hadley Falls. In about 2010, there was a survey in the town, and it was determined that as many as 600 families were what we call food insecure, and that means they're not really sure where their next meal is coming from. So historically, our pantry started because there was a determined need for people for food. Churches had already been getting calls and things like that for assistance, so they kind of formalized their efforts. It was around Martin Luther King in that year, 3 years ago this year, that the food pantry actually came into being.
That issue came up because neighboring food pantries, Amherst, Northampton, were actually saddled with residents of South Hadley.
South Hadley is often seen as an affluent community because of Mount Holyoke College and things like that. But in truth, there are really about 5 different distinct regions, and our food pantry operates in one of the regions, which is a former manufacturing area called the Falls, by where the rivers come through, and they powered brick mills and things like that. Well, the manufacturing's gone out, but the people necessarily don't have the resources to move away. And also, the rest of South Hadley, an exclusion of the college, was really rural. So it's not necessarily wealthy. It might have money and land, but not resources for the people to live with. So South Hadley, there's a bit of a disparity between what people think about it when it seems like it's affluent with the college and the nice houses in the area. But again, there was this really underlying need.
We kind of started investigating how to make a food pantry, realized it was a very long-term process, and decided that we couldn't wait the normal years to get this up and running, but needed to address our community's needs immediately. Early in 2010, our food pantry opened miraculously in that we found space at the Methodist Church, the basement area. So we had the space, we had the staff, and we had no food.
Sue and I planned to use the students as a way to generate interest and awareness in the community by having the townwide food drive on Martin Luther King Day weekend.
With this need that was revealed by the town's census in terms of about 600 families needing food, the town of South Hadley wanted to more formalize what was happening to help people gain access to food. And so an event called Bag the Community was started by a woman whose name is Sue Brulette and a lot of volunteers in town. It actually started out of the South Hadley High School, and at that time they dropped off paper grocery bags at people's homes in the area. They worked with different town departments like the Department of Public Works and things like that. And they put a little note on the bag and said, "We have a need for food. There are people in this community who are hungry, and we'll give you this bag on Saturday. On Monday we'll come back, and if you'd like to put some food in it, we'll collect the bag at that time." And they did that and brought all the food back to the South Hadley High School. They collected about 5,000 pounds of food. So what's interesting about that, besides it's a lot of food, when you think about it, spaghetti, cans of beans, and things like that, non-perishables of course, is that it really kicked off the history of the South Hadley Food Pantry. That was how we got started.
We started off with a school food drive, and we challenged the students to see how much food they could bring in during the month of December. My office was literally filled with cans and ramen noodles and all sorts of food, to the point where I couldn't even walk around anymore. And then from there, we expanded out into the community.
The inside school drive was hugely successful. That was paired with the community-wide drive called Bag the Community. And that process, that happens now every year during Martin Luther King weekend, which is connected to the National Day of Service.
Well, the project usually starts in the fall with meetings, and then little by little we get everything organized and everybody signed up, and it really gets hectic the last month before the food drive.
We distribute grocery bags, empty bags, with attached flyers explaining the process to, this year it'll be 5,000 homes. The first year it was 2,000 homes. Then on Monday we go back to those same residences and collect filled bags of groceries.
The food drive is, I think, one of the most special events that we have in the South Hadley community.
Having, so many people, hundreds of volunteers together in one place, all working for a common goal.
The way the community works together. There are some families who participate even though their children aren't in high school, just because they want them to do some time serving the community. And they'll show up and take a car and pick up the bags on Monday, just like the high school students help out.
As a teacher, seeing the students get involved, but also to see students outside of the South Hadley high school community get involved with the students as well, bringing everyone together, has been really special and been great to be a part of.
We replenish our stock of food here at the pantry. Given that we're hoping to put out as many as 5,000 bags, we're hoping to get back somewhere in the neighborhood of 20,000 to 40,000 pounds of food. Given that we're giving out a little bit over 100,000 pounds of food, that's about 20% to 40% of the whole year's need on one day.
All the food that comes in and the community support, because it's taken a long time for people to realize there's a food pantry. Because South Hadley has a bad name, like everyone thinks we're rich. It's not true. And it's taken 3 years for people to realize there is a place to come and get help, and it's not a big embarrassment. These are tough times, family-wise and elderly people. So we do our best to, like I say, love them up and make them feel welcome.
The initial purpose was to actually provide our food pantry with food. That was our immediate and very pressing need that first year. It did provide thousands and thousands of cans of food. The pantry was up and running 1 month after the food drive and has never slowed down. It's only grown since. Every year we have collected more than we have given out. Sometimes we'll go to someone's residence and there'll be 3 bags of groceries. The giving of the community is remarkable. It's just completely remarkable. And the thing is that it's an opportunity for everybody in the community to participate, to give something. And so that's kind of a good feeling. We go to them and they give. And so it's been a huge success. It involves hundreds of volunteers. Between Saturday and Monday, there probably a total of 300 volunteers will have made this happen, because it requires a lot of manpower.
My favorite part is seeing the high school students show up on a Saturday morning at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, ready to go and just happy to be there, and they look forward to. This sounds weird. They don't like seeing teachers as much maybe during the week, but they really look forward to seeing teachers outside of that normal school setting, and being able to ride in their cars or with other community members, with their friends, and to go out and drop off the bags. And then when picking the bags up, I think, is so rewarding. To see the amount of food come in that short period of time, I think, can be overwhelming, not only to myself, but to the students as well.
Too often adults say the kids don't care about their community, or are self-involved and selfish, and certainly they can be. But I think events like this show that teenagers have a capacity for caring and for empathy that often goes beyond their years.
It is just spectacular what we go through on that weekend. Every year it's such a pleasure, because it allows people of all age and all places in society to participate in one process. We have, the lasting image for me is all the people carrying these thousands of bags into the sorting room. And they're little kids, they're 5 years old and carrying bags, next to grandmas that are carrying bags, and grandpas that are driving routes, with high school kids. They've never met. It's just like this time of everyone comes together, jumps in cars, and goes and takes care of the job. And so there's always this really interesting mix of old people, young people, high schoolers. They're just from every walk of life.
As an adult and as an educator, it's our responsibility to give kids these opportunities. We can't expect them to be empathetic, compassionate, caring adults if we don't give them opportunities when they're younger to learn those skills and learn how to make those connections.
It's a really big collaboration between the townspeople who like to volunteer and the South Hadley students, high school, as well as Mount Holyoke College has gotten on board. Mount Holyoke College requires everyone who's a spring admittance student to participate in our Bag of the Community food drive as part of their orientation. So it's nice, it gives us a nice cadre of volunteers.
The feeling of community that weekend is just absolutely tremendous. And I think that other people have felt that likewise. They've just said it's just been a really wonderful experience. It's a lot of hard work, but it's pretty special.
You have a lot of people from all different parts of the town working together to help people that they will probably never meet or see or know. And they're all doing it out of a sense of this is the right thing to do and this is how we make our community a better place.
One of the most important things that we'd like to do is kind of always increase community awareness so that more and more people understand that there is an issue of food insecurity in the area so that we can help address it.
Working with all kinds of people is just so much fun. It's chaotic, and I happen to like chaos, so it pleases me very much when there's just food and people coming and going and just lots of space to laugh and fool around.
There's room for everybody of all ages and all abilities because it's all about where you live and things like that. And I think that it's in the spirit of the Martin Luther King Day of Service idea, so that's really important.
I think it's very important that people know that the people in South Hadley do need help and that we need the food in here to help out the people in the city or town.
The food pantry, the high school, and Mount Holyoke with complete community support. And that's kind of a neat development because the town-gown relationship has been bridged a bit. Mount Holyoke is in South Hadley, but not necessarily of South Hadley. And so it gave the students and the college and everyone in South Hadley, government and the rest of us, a chance to kind of mix together. And that's been a wonderful development. It's been great.
We're very grateful in this area that people understand that people need food, but there's just an increasing need. At this time in the economy, there's really a lot of people that are very dependent on things like this. It's not going to go away anytime soon. It's really important, and it needs attention.